Hello and welcome to the Low-Code Campfire. This is episode number 246 for Friday, June 5th, 2026. Today is an Open Lines Friday. I am Dale Warner, Head of Support for Plant an App, and this is an event that we do most Fridays. We get together and talk about all things Plant an App with the community and with our tech team. And we encourage you to come join us live in real time and come with techniques that you use with Plant an App, any challenges that you're having that you want to submit to our panel of experts, any experiences that you have. It's all skill levels welcome. It's from beginner to expert. We want to help and encourage you here at Low Code Campfire. We record all these and put them on YouTube. YouTube.com/plantanap is where you can get 200 and almost 250 hours of excellent content on Plant an App. So subscribe to that, hit the alarm bell. You'll know when we drop a new episode. We'll do this agenda. We always stop and say hello because we're a friendly group, and then we'll go around the campfire. We always do first call and anything you've submitted in advance. And then maybe we'll talk about anything contributed to our community campfire website, our community portal, feature requests, any dark corners of the product that you've explored. So we'll talk about a variety of those things, and then after an hour or so, we turn off the recording, start our afterglow segment where we just enjoy each other for a few more minutes before we start the weekend. So do engage with us, jump in, show and tell, use the chat window, whatever works best for you. You can submit questions and topics in advance. Support@plantanapp.com is the email address for that. A programming note, I will be away next week. Razvan Stan will be hosting, so we continue, which is great because that keeps us on track for our 250th episode happening on or about the 250th anniversary of the United States of America. Hello, one and all.
Hi.
Good
Hello.
morning.
Friday.
And happy Friday to you. I'm 2 minutes in and glad to hear that you're responding because I'm using my alternate audio, making sure that I was talking to other than myself. So glad you're here. All right, first call. What's on your mind? Nobody with any challenges? Plant app
I
is
can
working perfectly.
I can jump in if you if we don't have anything else.
Please do.
Um, I think we talked about something along these lines on the campfire at some point, pretty far back in the past, I'd say. But I'm wondering if anybody has any thoughts or strategies on how to deal with uh, file creation, on the fly file creation on a button where you do an export of a lot of data that takes it takes a while for the file to be created, and um, and you'd like to provide an alternate way to deliver the file to the person in case of a timeout. And this is a relatively new challenge for us because we now have a restriction of a 120-second timeout, and we have a lot of places where files are created that are basically just too large to for the server to send a response back in that amount of time.
Anyone? Ben
Uh,
has his hand up.
I have a suggestion. I did something similar in the past. I don't have it anymore because that particular project was taken down. But I had the same kind of issue. We were working with very, very large files that either were being generated by the system or even were being uploaded and then processed, and then I had to give some sort of feedback. So what I basically did is I set it up. Basically, I have a kind of a feature that I call my async queue. So it's basically a table where I insert a request. I have a trigger on a record insert to read that request, and then that automation is programmed with whatever, things I need to do. So basically the request will have a command and then along with it, some parameters to that command in another field. Your action stack within that automation will handle the command and then appropriately do whatever it needs to do. That's what triggers it. Now, on the flip side, for the whole timeout thing for long processes, what I basically did is I created a page that just basically had a grid that was for every individual user. So when a user did something that prompted a long process and they were supposed to get like a file download back or whatever, it would then shift them over to that page with that grid. They would see the entry from the async queue with a status of processing. And once whatever the command is finishes, it would then stamp that same async queue record with its final status, whether it completed, failed, whatever. And if it completed, they'd then get a button that automatically enables itself where they can download the file. And then that grid itself, I would have it set to like, 30-second refresh or something to that effect, so that it periodically kept looking at that async record to see what the status is. And when it's done, the person can retrieve whatever data the system finished compiling. I think that's kind of what you were asking for.
Yeah, that's a detailed process, but I can see some potential there.
So, Ben, I'll just comment. I was going in the same direction in my head. I'm just going to take complete credit for your idea is perfect. Um,
Uh,
yeah, because by using a grid with the automatic refresh, you that handles the kind of the notification thing. I think I might I'd um, have a tendency to add if you think that they might want to wander away while that's happening, then you could have a notification icon that you add to like their menu bar or something. So kind of build a notification system, right?
mhm,
That's tied to all this. They click on it, it comes back to this page that could be any kind of notification, but notification that their job was done and ready for download. So it'd be a new pattern. It wouldn't, instead of clicking the button and getting a file, it's clicking a button, look at a page, wait for the file, but it would get around your 2-minute limitation.
mhm. Cool. Those are good ideas. I need to I'll need to explore them, of course, but
I will say there was one other way that I did it in the past, but I moved away from that just in case it was an idea that anyone maybe thought of or were thinking of. Initially, before I did it the way I explained it to you, I used to have a page where same idea would kick off an asynchronous run. The website page itself, I had JavaScript in there that would every few seconds poll an API, and the API would give the status of said process. That process would be updating some sort of a record in the database. So that API would just constantly send that process back every time you polled it. The problem with that is that if the user in any way navigated away from that page, they
mhm,
lost the reference to the status of that particular process. And there's no way to get it back. If they
Yep.
didn't copy that URL, whatever ID or whatever you had that allowed the system to check on that process and then eventually give them a button or whatever, they would lose it. So they would have to
mhm,
start the process all over again. So doing it with the grid style is a way of setting it up so that this is like their little private, repository of things that they are setting off in the system. So the system's always going to
mhm.
know and they don't have to worry about it. So, but just want to throw that out there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the first one you described, Ben, is a more resilient design, and it kind of leads itself to, uh, for example, if the site, um, it's going to queue all those right? So if the site is under heavy load, it's not going to uh, have everybody trying to build their own PDF at once or document at once. It's going to single thread them or um, anyway. So, but not losing the reference was the thing. I think you probably could get around that if you really needed to. Like, I mean, meaning you could store it in a cookie and then uh, anytime they navigated back to that page, you could begin the polling again. But um, I like the pattern of just having a queue. Cool. So welcome. A few more of you have come in since we asked for first call. So now I guess we're on second call. Anybody with something you want to talk about? All right. I have one or two things to talk about. The first one is July 3rd is a Friday. Anybody going to be working on July 3rd, or I don't want to be here by myself?
I am
I'm going.
checking my calendar now.
I'm working.
Ditto. I will be working.
Hmm?
I'm going to be in Alaska.
Wow. That sounds like a fun place to be.
Yeah, and vacationing. So no, I won't be here.
All right. Well, just as soon as we got the answer from Mark, if Mark's going to be here, I'll be here.
Woot woot.
I'm trying to remember. That might be an official Plant and App holiday, but anyway.
I think probably so. Most companies, and I think I recall this. If the holiday's on the Saturday, then the official day off is the Friday before that.
But I have nothing. I think I'll just hold this on. It'll be the 250th episode, so I'm going to be here. And oddly enough, the little town that well, little town, the area that I live in, does their big 4th of July. If the 4th of July is a Saturday, right? So they're going to do it on the Saturday before. So it's a full week before the 4th of July. We'll have our
Hmm.
fireworks and everything. So it's already over by the time we get to the 3rd. All right. So we'll do that. Uh, I got to do a mea culpa. Last week, we talked about pop-up equals true. I think most of you here were here for that, but it's a DNN parameter that well, it hides a bunch of things, hides the menu, hides the persona bar, but it turns out that it has other unintended side effects. So my recommendation last week that, hey, I've got this cool script and we can use it to hide the persona bar, it actually breaks our licensing flow. And Bogdan doesn't get on me very often for mistakes that I make, but he was a little bit cross with me for not running it through the development team and just coming up with my own solution to a problem. So don't do that. Um, and yeah, I know if if you were here for that, it was added to the header tag of the configuration page. And I know Ben has a script that we've implemented on the configuration page, the header tag, that does wonderful things. And it encouraged me oh, I can add my own script there too. But apparently Ben's is written in a quality enough manner that it doesn't interfere with things. But it is an ongoing warning that anything that you do JavaScript that impacts the environment could have unintended side effects. Um, and we certainly don't. So just be careful, right, when you're adding JavaScript that you don't uh, break other things like I did. We don't want support tickets for, I mean, that was why Bogdan got on to me. Uh, I think people implemented this, then you just have to create support tickets, and then it'd be um, shooting ourselves in the foot a little bit. All right, that's the major topics I had to hit. Now you've thought of something else, or you want to admit to something that you did wrong.
None of the rest of us do anything wrong. So
Excellent. Nobody's raising their hand on that one.
Actually, none of us admit to it.
Ah.
I really liked that fishing attempt there, Dale.
Trying to get off the hot seat. All right. Um, let's see what else we have in here. I looked at our documentation system. There was nothing new added out there since last time, so that's not a topic. Community forum. Let's check. Oh, I know one I can. I'm gonna get something else rolling while we uh, get a system heating up while we're looking at other things. Um, okay, import users with password. Uh, See that there was no answer to this. I think essentially this request was, I got a system that has 500 users and I want to import them into a different system. 500 users don't want to have to reset their password. Uh, if you knew their password, then our actions would help you do that. But I don't know if there's any way that there is any way to.
well, if the systems are set up in a secure way, no, there's no way to do that because you don't. Yeah, but I do know that the encrypting of the password is not a required thing. It's default, but it's not. I think there's a way to turn it off, but that would be unadvisable. And if the password's encrypted, then
And I see this, I mean, presumably if they're set up in exactly the same way and you knew what to move, you could move them. Uh, but I think it's tables.
oh, I see. Yeah, yeah. I don't know.
But I haven't ever done that, and I would hate to advise, and then I'd get in trouble again.
Yeah, in the past, to what because I've been through this situation a few times, and we've just said uh, you'll need to reset your password. New system, new password. So,
Yep. Well, and so I understand not if this is a business site, maybe the the fact that that 500 users have to reset their password, at one level, it's no big deal. You reset your password. We have to do it all the time. It takes 2 minutes and it's done. But I suppose for if it was like a business and there's 500 users and some boss somewhere is thinking, well, I've got 500 users that are resetting their passwords instead of getting my thing done, that they want to might want to find a way around the time waste, but I don't see a way around it. Cool.
There used to be a module in the DNN store that could do this, and it's pretty old. I'm trying to remember the name, and I'm starting to look for it so I can speak intelligently here. But I'm wondering if that was popular before DNN started encrypting the passwords. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that I used it multiple times with great success. I'll try to find it while you talk.
Thank you. Yeah, I wouldn't pay attention to me either. I'm in a mood today. Can you tell? uh, I would say, one way to look at this is, wouldn't it? This particular question is, wouldn't it be troubling if you could, right? If you can move well, I don't know if you can move the passwords and you don't necessarily have to know them, but yeah, okay. Let's see if there's another one here. I think this one was around last week and we talked about it. This was the typical problem where things don't exist in context after. Didn't we talk about this? I think, well, I don't know. When a form loads, that the things that you generate in the pre-init, on-init
We did
actions,
talk about it briefly, I think, yeah.
okay, don't continue to not exist. And that is something that is fixed in Forms 2.0, and that's really, I was doing some work on doing some user acceptance testing on some of our new functionality, and I thought, and the Forms 2.0 stuff, and I thought it would be worth showing you. There's some nice stuff in here. So on that topic particularly, in on pre-init, there is this persist data for submit. So um, the problem that we were just discussing, that if anything you develop um, in a non-pre-init action can at least be passed into um, the submit button, and so tokens would exist and they're secure and they don't have to be on a hidden field on the form. So that's the way around that one. Actually, it's the way around it for the submit button. I'm not sure. Still don't think you could use it for uh, conditional whether or not a button appears, because it's one's front end, one's back end. Anyway, the cool thing that I saw that I just wanted to show is this interface is continuing to improve. Um, and so I just wanted to show off a couple of things. The hover of this lets you see the long description, and it can go as long as you want. So that's cool. The eye shows what the action is. So when it's in this compressed format, you can still hover and see things. And then we used to have this. This is obviously not a real condition, but we're doing a color to indicate that there's a condition there instead of the big uh,
Edge.
yeah, there used to be a big badge that was the reason I think that we got into this was we were uh, with the badges and the long descriptions and everything. It was making these containers overflow into the next. It got the river got outside the banks, and so now they've done some nice things to control that. Um, so I thought that this coloring the condition was a cool thing. Anyone have any um, reaction to that? Or even a contrary one?
I want to say I like the idea of coloring the condition, but I'm not sure I'm a fan of the color that was chosen.
I like
It's
orange.
Yeah, but it's like against a white background, it's hard on the eyes. It's not the contrast isn't really the best in my opinion.
So
I
higher
don't know.
Yeah,
contrast might be better. You
I was
guys.
waiting to say something similar too, because if you're following the guidelines of making a website accessible, just a color change is not a recommended way to handle differences in status, because a full quarter of males are colorblind. Um, it takes more than just a color change to do it right.
With
So
with that in mind, because I didn't even think about that, and you make a good point. What if there's two different icons? Like
yeah, an icon
this
swap,
icon
right?
that you have right there could be when it is in effect, with the fork in the road type thing. But when it's not, maybe that same icon, but with a circle slash through it, say that it's not in effect.
So I think those are
Yeah.
two good suggestions. Well, while if you can think of anything more, I'm going to take some notes on another screen here. But so one comment was that color change only is problematic for colorblind accessibility reasons. And perhaps another icon. And more contrasting color.
That's also an accessibility recommendation.
Great. Well, I'm glad I talked about it. And I don't know if anybody is uh, getting the chance to participate in the beta, but these are the exact kinds of things that we would love to hear about. One thing that I was happy about too, that being able to navigate, being able to move actions between these sections. Um, there's a little
Do it
bug.
again.
Yeah, yeah, I'm
I
going
missed
to.
it.
But it, there's a little bit of a hard. Yeah, there it is. So
You got to find a sweet spot.
yeah, we're still working on the sweet spot stuff. If there's no action, if there's an action there already, then it's. Let me add another one. Let's clone that. Um, so yeah, you can grab it and put it right where you want it between sections. I don't know how
Ooh,
many times that would have saved me
on
thinking.
pre-init. Oh,
Mhm.
so many times I've wanted that. So many
Absolutely.
times.
That is big.
Plus
It
one.
is. It's a
Yeah.
big deal. Yep.
Yeah, instead of exporting it and re-importing it, which I'm sure each of you were around for action form before there was export and import. It's just like, okay, let's retype it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So export and import saved a lot, but this is really slick, I think.
That's much better. Much
Yep.
appreciated.
Um, and somebody in our there's a young man, different Bogdan in our quality assurance team that found that if you added a really, really long label, that it was overflowing the banks here as well. And so if you have a really long label and your form, uh, depending on the width of the column, it's going to cut it off so that it doesn't blow up other things. So you can interactively you can get more. And let's see, if I drag this like outside the box, it'll get a lot more, uh, and we'll render that as well. But it's gonna stay. It'll cut it off before it overflows the box, which is, I think, pretty cool. So trying to protect you from yourself. Trying to remember what else has changed in here. I haven't. I think there's more. Yeah, I see we've got a time field and a date field. So a couple of more field types that I think since we were in here last. Anyway, we continue to work on it. Anything you see or want to explore before I move into something else?
Um, is this? I can't remember if we talked about it or not. Is it all happening already, or are we gonna? Are you thinking about adding it? The ability to export an individual field. like a field that you have on the form already.
Yeah, this is going to export everything, right?
Right. Yeah. And we had talked about that in the past about making it so you can export an individual field.
I don't know, but let me expand my work here. And what would be the this would be then to import a field from export from one place and into the same form or into a different form?
Into a
Or,
different form. Yeah, because I know you can clone a field that's within the form, but no, for
well,
often I I'll be working on a form and I know that I have a field somewhere else that's configured exactly the way I want it, and I sometimes go to that form and I export the entire thing and then I edit out all the other JSON so I can get down to this. It's a lot of extra steps. It'd be nice if we could just export a field.
I'm not sure that you can clone a field in Forms 2.0 yet. So,
Oh, okay. Yeah,
so,
and yeah.
so let's add that to the list too.
Yep.
Hey, while you're writing, how about instead of doing a export and we have to copy all the text and then go somewhere and paste it, how about if the export were to put it into like a little library or side panel, you could then pull it out of that in the future even?
Export
So this,
directly into a pre-configured field. And then once again, I don't know if you have those yet in Forms 2.0, but in Action Form, there's the pre-configured fields, right?
yeah, something like that where you can reuse it for multiple times. Put it into your own personal library kind of thing.
I like that even better.
Uh, and
Keep typing, Dale. Keep typing.
why did I even bring this up? Now I have to write up tickets for this.
Come on, Mark, let's keep it going.
No, I do the same thing. Obviously, Patrick,
But
I do the same
you guys,
thing.
you, I assume you clone a field is something that you use frequently, or
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely use clone a field. Yep.
because I don't see
Mhm.
clone a field.
It'd be nice if they cloned it from form to form, which is what we're talking about, really.
But I like your idea though, of, because I know there's some fields that I have that I would definitely add.
To
And I
the
think
library.
I've actually done that before. I've actually put an entire field configuration into, because you can add your own pre-configured fields. It's just not automatic. You have to put the file into the correct directory on the server to have a pre-configured field, and I've done that before. Um,
No, I have not
but
done that.
it's not a perfect system though, because there's some things that don't work, if I remember correctly. Anyway,
And does
The
that risk getting overwritten on an upgrade?
it does not,
no.
Oh, okay. That's good.
unless you happen to pick a name that we decide we want to use later on.
Yeah.
It's
No,
uh,
the idea though of having like a custom field definition, I think is very, very good. Because to Patrick's point earlier, he's had to go out and copy a whole form just to get the one action that he needs. And I've had to do the same thing as well. So very nice.
um, the lib the concept that was in action form um, made it possible to create a field that you could reuse, but the barrier was so high that meaning you had to get the JSON and put it in the right place on the file system. So unless you were really doing it all the time, it was not worth the hour that you'd spend or the half hour that you'd spend figuring out how to do that. I
Right.
think,
And I agree. I've done it, but I have not done it a lot for that very reason yet.
and I think the risk that you're talking about, you said certain things don't work. I think the problem is that if you put something, if you configure a field that way, create the file, and then the definition over
Hmm.
time shifts, that you've the definition in your custom version isn't updated, and so when you try to use it, then you don't have a definition that matches what we're expecting
Yep.
now. So, but having those in a library, and I'd leave it to the developers to figure that out. But it's almost like you could have a system level form that's called library that um, you put a field. If you could put a field onto that and take a field off of that, I mean, but UI wise, it would be great to be able to say uh, what favorite. Um, if you're doing a field and if you could
User defined.
I'm thinking if you could just at some level have a checkbox that says uh, favorite or library, add to library, some kind of function like that. But then you'd need to be able to, your build would need to be able to pull from your library as well. So neat ideas.
Maybe it could pull from a list of your forms that you have in the website.
Sure, like a copy from existing in DNN. So
Uh-huh.
a list of
Yeah.
forms and a list of fields and drag it in.
Hmm.
All good ideas. All right. So the last time I asked this question, my list just got longer. Is anything else you want to explore in here before we move on? I had one, actually.
I
Go ahead.
I would like to report back on the moving users with passwords modules.
Uh-huh.
While I was ignoring you, Dale, I was looking it up in the DNN store. Sorry, don't have a mean face. I was trying to be funny.
No,
Hmm.
I got it. I understood exactly where you were.
All right, so I looked it up. There's three modules in the DNN store, and I've used two of them personally. There's live utilities. I think that's from Mandeep's, and the other one is the user manager, and I have used that one as well. Um, and I looked at the details. They both mention passwords. They mention it in such a way that they don't really answer our question of whether it moves an encrypted password. But they would both be options for Wes to look into. I'd be glad to respond to Wes. I saw that entry and I just wanted to wait and see if anybody else knew more than what I've used
Well,
before.
since you've done all the research, if you wouldn't mind just pointing
Sure.
him to that. Your mileage may vary.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd have to try it, but anyway, good. Thank you. So I wanted to explore this behavior and ask your opinion. You're all familiar with action form that you place a field and then you have to put it on you have to go to the layout and arrange the layout. So we have a different experience with uh, Forms 2.0 where you take a field and you put it on the layout and it goes where it goes. And I mean, so if you have first name and you want to put last name next to it, you start dropping things on the page. I'm not going to save this because I want to start with a fresh. I have a new form. Uh, I guess I should get rid of the button too, and then it'll be just like, yeah. So you start out with just a main container. So the process of if we wanted to create a contact form, but first name, last name, and a button to send it, um, the process would be something like this. Because I want them to be side by side, I would add a content block so that I would have them to drop them into. And then I would take a first name and put it in the content block. Hopefully that's in the content block. Um, and then I would do another first name, excuse me, another text box, and that would be last name. So starting to configure, we've got first name, and last name. And because I didn't get them in the content block, so now here's my thing. I want them to be side by side. These are all inside the main container. So in order to have them be side by side, they have to be in the same. Uh,
Hmm.
oh my goodness. Now I can't put them into the block. Well, this isn't showing off at all well. I'm going to try a new field and see if I get any. But I've never had this problem before.
You could try a new content block too.
Yep. Man, I can't drop
Is it a container within the container that you're thinking about? Is a content block just a
Okay. So yeah, I'm an idiot. This has been a day for me. All right. So well, we'll do that much. All right. So what I was really I'm going to cut that out of the video. I will. I'm trying for a container. First name goes inside the container. Last name goes inside the container. And so so the normal pattern that I would expect is you drop a container and then you start putting in your stuff. And because I want these to be side by side, you have to go to the container and say the direction is not vertical but horizontal. And then you could start adding and then if you wanted email to be below that, then that would be another container. So I think the thought pattern would be something like um, every row that you want to do in your form that you start by putting a container and flipping it to being horizontal. And so my question is, does this is the way I approach it, thinking about putting um, things um, in rows. And so I'm thinking that a container should default to being horizontal to start with. I wouldn't, in the way I approach things, I wouldn't put a container and then expect it to be vertical.
Are containers the only thing that is resizable? Or can fields be resized as well? Just
Fields can be resized as
okay,
well.
okay.
So they default to taking up the entire space of the row. So you can see two fields and they're 50-50, three fields and they're in thirds. But if you go to the container and say that the layout mode is manual, then you can
Okay.
do this stuff.
Nice.
What am I doing? I didn't get it. I moved
Oh, but
things over.
you can create a new row within a container. I see, because that's what you just did, right?
This this doesn't look.
I think that was unintentional.
Yes, this looks unintentional.
Okay.
Looks like a wrap issue.
Yeah, and I can't get it to do what I want it to do. So just for fun, I'm going to go back to an automatic layout and position these and try again. So manual layout. And what I tried to do was to pick this up and move it into this gap, which is more of a action form thing. I think the correct thing to do is to stretch it on one side and then RoboForm's getting in my way here.
You can't get there from here.
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe change the name of the field from last name to something else because that's what I think RoboForm is picking up on.
Um, I like it. I like it.
Is there a way in Forms 2.0 to see a like the layout grid lines of where things are hooking to, sort of like we had in the old layout mode?
It's still a 12 column layout, and as you start moving things around, so no, it's the sizers on the side that that show you the zones.
I do really like the fact that you can adjust those widths.
And oh, yeah. So now notice we had a nice edit there that the currency. Um, I don't know what US dollar next day is.
Um, so I think back to your original question, I think you were asking about that workflow, about the, that process to see. I'm wondering, um, you can add fields without a container though, right? So within the main container, you can just add a field. Is that
Yes.
correct? Or okay.
Yep.
So you don't necessarily have to have a new container for every row, but if you want multiple fields on the same row, you do need to have a new container.
Um, the main container also has a direction. So if you only have one row, you could flip the main container to be horizontal.
Okay.
But basically, yes, if you want multiple rows, you're going to have to add containers to make it happen.
Multiple
Now,
columns.
No, multiple rows. If you want multiple.
If your stack direction is vertical, I could add fields. If the field's going to be an entire row, I could just add a field
Ah,
underneath a container, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's clear and start over here.
I mean, I can
so go ahead,
go
Patrick.
ahead.
Sorry. No,
No, go
no,
ahead,
go
Matt.
ahead.
Okay, I was just gonna say
Um,
I can see how it would be how it would it's a I think it's a learning curve. And it does seem like a lot of steps, but I can see the flexibility of it. So I'm anyway, go ahead, Matt.
so when a question, you see the spacing between those elements on the form, I believe you can adjust those. So in other words, text box and text box one has that space between them. You, that I assume is adjustable in the UI, your padding and margins and such.
Um, I don't know that there's a direct other th I don't know that there's a direct one. Let's see.
I thought I saw it on, maybe it was on the container itself. Maybe that's what I saw. Like space
There's a
between.
gap. There's a gap. Yeah.
All right. So
So we could go
there you
to,
go. You had padding.
and then there's CSS. So yeah, there is some adjustability to it.
Dale, when you're putting a field onto a form, is it always a drag from left to right? Or is it,
Yes.
can you just, my thought was it might be cool to just like have a sweet spot on each one of those field buttons that you could just click and it would just pop a new field over into the work area. So you could just like, and I'm going to need first name, last name. So you go bam, bam, you hit the text boxes twice and then you rearrange it later. It might be right the way it is.
No, there is no, the only way to place a field is to drag it. That's it. Are you thinking about whether that's something worth me writing on my piece of
Well,
paper?
I do think about my effort from the perspective of trying to assist this great product to continue to be great. I think about how long did it take me to do that, and could I have done that faster or more simply without trouble?
I would say the problem from let's go with the presumption that there was this sweet spot or a double click that you could do and place it. Then you got to deal with, well, where is it going to go? Right. Um, at the bottom
Vertically
of the main.
stacked would be, yeah, my
Yeah,
assumption.
well, yeah, you got lots of containers. You got a busy form, and it drops someplace, where, where you didn't want it. So now you got to drag it anyway. So I think the answer is going to come back. No, this gives you the experience that we want. You want to put it someplace on the form.
Understood.
I'd say on that one, it's probably better to work with it a while and then come back with
Yeah, I
what
have not
really
worked with
could
it
be
for a
done.
while.
Yeah.
That makes a difference.
But this experience of dragging around, you see this nice blue line that we're getting, when we actually have a
Hmm.
container instead of a content block. That this experience of dragging them around is really quite nice. And then, like if you change your mind, so I didn't use any containers at all to start with, and to be able to change this to horizontal and start dragging things into it, and you can see exactly where they're going to go. Um, uh,
Yeah, you're doing right now what I was kind of proposing.
I
You've
understand.
got all those fields on there, and now you're just repositioning. We do well, I do a lot of repositioning on every form I make. But it's you made a good point. So I noticed one thing about the container. Looking at it even right now, I would like to see a border going around the container. I guess I could, yeah, I saw that too, that it shows up when you hover, which is nice, and that might take care of it. But without the hover, it's not obvious that it's there. And when there's five fields going across, you can assume that there's a container there holding it like that. But if there's one and it's in a container, it's just less obvious. But I think that very well could be a preference issue.
Yeah, I think the I suspect the thinking might have been that this is going to be invisible unless you CSS it. It's going to be invisible um, when it renders. So having it be a hover
That makes sense.
that
It
you
makes it
that you get out of.
it makes it a little bit more what you see, what you get in this view as well.
Yep, and that's happening with all these. Yep, cool.
So from where you are right
Cool.
now, if I wanted to have the text boxes and the drop downs vertical next to the left of the text area, I'd have to add two new containers and then put the text boxes into uh into the into the one container and then text area into another container. So
Do we think that those outlines that when you hover are like a CSS that's making that appear when you hover so that if I really wanted to see all my containers during the design mode, I could just tweak a CSS entry somewhere to.
Yeah, you can
Wouldn't
get your answer right now.
it
Makes
wouldn't
sense.
surprise me. Yeah, you could do something if the CSS, I don't know what. Yeah, it looks like you could um, put some site CSS in that would totally style that and make them pop the way you want. If you're smart enough to be able to figure out how to do it for hover and stuff like that. Yeah.
No, that's why I wanted the dev team to be smart enough to do it. I'm probably not.
So,
This is doable. Everyone in this room can do this. Not hard.
all right. So, yeah, we spent a lot of time on Forms 2.0. I don't know if I had anything else. I don't think there's anything new in Campfire. I didn't put anything in. Uh, nope. It's been several weeks, so that's that. All right, we are all the way up to last call. All right. Well, then I am going to thank you for spending your hour with us. And if you're inclined, hang around for Afterglow. And well, I will talk to you again in like 2 weeks.